If it's not a huge commitment, something that's free, I would talk about more cutting than I would necessarily adding, and being a lot more selective and just accepting, the list is never going to end. You're never going to finish your checklist. If you do, life will be boring. So treating like your to-do list on your checklist of what's reasonable to get done today, cut the rest. What's most important, cut the rest. And just do those. And if anything else you get to, it's a bonus. And you can feel great about it. And, this is all a better thing for me today. And the same thing will apply to aspects of your health.
In the quest for optimal wellness, the quality of our sleep remains one of the most powerful yet underutilized tools for transformation. My guest on today's show, Michael Byrne, CEO of BIA Neuroscience, stands at the forefront of revolutionary sleep technology. Michael developed a smart sleep mask that harnesses the power of neuroscience to enhance nightly rest. With extensive experience as a neurofeedback technician and deep expertise in natural sleep solutions, Michael brings a unique blend of technical innovation and holistic understanding to the science of sleep. Our conversation explores groundbreaking developments in sleep technology, from neural music and brain state optimization to the intricate dance of sleep cycles. We discuss the fascinating intersection of neuroscience and rest, exploring how smart technology can guide our brains through various sleep stages while measuring and improving our nightly regeneration. Topics range from practical sleep aids and supplement strategies to the revolutionary potential of neurofeedback for enhanced rest. Michael's insights reveal how the latest sleep technology can work in harmony with your body's natural rhythms while demystifying the science behind truly restorative sleep. Our discussion also uncovers practical strategies for creating the optimal sleep environment using both cutting-edge tools and time-tested techniques. This episode sheds a lot of light on understanding the essential role sleep plays in our health. So without any further ado, on with the show. Michael, it's so great to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I would love to hear how you got so into sleep. Like you were a neurofeedback technician, but apparently you had a real passion for improving sleep. What was the impetus for this?
Yeah, and actually came from working in the neurofeedback clinic. As a technician there, one of the questions we always asked people was, "How was your sleep?" And with neurofeedback clinics, you tend to get everything under the sun coming in. People are just looking to optimize their health a little bit. People with anxiety, depression, concussions, what have you. We had everything come through the door. And sleep was one of the most consistent ways for us to get any level of objective understanding of both how are they responding as well as how are they actually doing. Asking someone, "Hey, how do you feel today?" And they've had depression for 5 years. It's not going to get you something valuable, and it's not going to put them in the right place. How was your sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty easy for them to quantify that, to share that experience, and that can vary on a daily basis. So that was kind of my first touch point into the sleep space on the business side of things. More and more looking into it, realize how crucial sleep was to your mental health, to your overall well-being, and ended up moving on to the sleep supplement company from there. Met my co-founder there. He was hire number one. I was hire number two. So we were able to grow that business and get that one moving. We were at one point selling 500 bottles a day of the sleep aid there. And eventually, we both moved on, did our own things, wanted to work together, wanted to look at our opportunities to do that. And we started doing some pretty deep customer discovery. His background was actually more IBM, a bit more on the software side of things. I wanted to get back into neurotechnology, so we're looking for ways to combine our backgrounds. And we didn't actually look at sleep initially. Only when we started looking at other neurotech companies, looking at customers, surveying thousands of people, we started to realize it's just right back to where the problem is, and where our background is sleep. And I think what made it extra obvious is my wife doesn't sleep that well either. So it became a pain point for me every single night that I got to witness and get to see. So that's eventually how we ended up going right back into the sleep space, right back into neurotech.
Gotcha. And how is your wife sleeping these days?
It's getting better. It's getting better. We're still in the beta phase for our products, so we're still early stages. Haven't really been able to give her the full juice yet and the full experience, but very excited to get it fully ready for her to be the first test run.
Gotcha. Yeah, by the time this episode airs, hopefully you'll be out of beta because we're recording this what'll probably be months prior to the listener listening to it. We got 35 episodes already pre-recorded. So now you mentioned sleep aids. Can you talk a bit more about sleep aids and what some of those are? We talking about supplements? Are there other kinds of sleep aids besides supplements that our listener should know about? We'll talk plenty about BIA in the episode, but I want to hear this idea of a sleep aid, what exactly that is.
Yeah, I guess it depends how you define it too. Yeah, there is the supplement side. They're probably the most well known, and there's always a various level of concoctions or individual components. You could look at L-theanine, chamomile, melatonin, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
There are tons of other ones that you can qualify as sleep aids. Blackout blinds, just a generic sleep mask, um, noise machines. Scent is actually really important. Scent is a great way to create associations with your sleep space that are positive. You just need to be very diligent on how you use that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like an essential oil, for example, can be actually quite beneficial.
Any in particular, or just using essential oils is helpful?
Yeah, and there will be some that will be, I'm sure if you just search it on a company website that sells essential oils, they'll be able to speak to it better than I can. But the most important part is that your brain starts to associate this smell equals sleep. That's the most important thing. So you don't want to use it, then turn on the TV, or you don't want to put it on and, while you're working, as well as put the identical same scent while you're trying to sleep, or, what have you. Just the only time you ever use that is lights are off. I'm ready to go to sleep. I'm confident I'm going to get a good night's sleep tonight. Not when you're anxious, not when you're worked up, because your brain needs to make that association. Yes, I know I'm
Right.
going to get a good night's sleep. I'm exhausted. Put that on. And then across time, you do that regularly, 3, 4 months later, when you're a bit anxious, it will help you fall asleep because your brain's made that association.
Right. It's an anchor. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So one thing that I interviewed recently, Dr. Peter Martoni, and he talks about in that episode having a memory that you use as an anchor. So if you're walking a boardwalk or a particular beach or I don't know, forest or something that you've walked in the past a number of times, or maybe it was just particularly vivid and memorable the one time that you did it, you can replay that memory as you're trying to fall asleep, and then that will help you as you reinforce it, replaying that memory multiple times over and over again over weeks, and then only recalling that memory when you're trying to go to sleep. And then if you wake up prematurely before you wanted to, then you can replay that memory again to fall back asleep. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's very smart.
Yeah. So I'm a biohacker. I love geeking out on gadgets and so forth. And I was one of the early adopters of the Zeo headband. Do you remember Zeo?
Yeah, yeah, I'm very familiar.
Yeah. So of course they're out of business, and I had all those wonderful tracked nights of sleep in the app that are unavailable to me now, which is fine. It is what it is. But um, how do you address a concern from a prospective customer that, hey, how do I know that BIA is going to be around in 5 years? Because I would have thought that Zio would have been around for a long time, and it didn't make it.
Yeah, and I would love to say that we'll be around for the next 100 years, and we got all the money in the world; it'll never end. We're not Apple; we don't have that level of power to make that statement. So actually,
Yeah.
a lot of what we're designing is so that you're able to export your own data, and you'll have access to it. That even if the company wants to go under, um, the app would still continue to function as long as we're not pushing an update to close it down. It doesn't help anyone to do that. So you'll be able to export your own data. We're looking at connecting it to Apple Health, to Google Health, to Samsung Health. So you'll be able to
Great.
also integrate that with, if you go for a run, you can also have that data integrated with our sleep data.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, really cool. And there's another a really great platform for tracking your different health metrics and biohacking metrics. It's called Heads Up Health. So I interviewed David Kursunski on this podcast as well, and he's the founder of Heads Up. And yeah, he talked about all the different kinds of things that you can measure using his technology, or just measuring to see if you can make improvements in your health, like nocturnal HRV we talked about, of course, and uh, doing like DEXA scans and tracking all these things over time in one platform, such as Heads Up. So that was interesting. Now, is that something that you, because I guess you'll integrate, or you do integrate with Apple Health, that would mean that it would integrate with Heads Up as well, since they tie into that.
Yeah, that'll be likely. We're going to start with the biggest names possible first to make it as simple, and then we look at further integrations past that. But
Yeah,
we are very, very sleep focused, and I just pulled up searching for that podcast specifically on. I'm excited to give that one a listen. But yeah, we're very much focused sleep space.
yeah.
That's our main target.
So, what's the secret sauce to having a sleep mask with neurotechnology, and you're not just wearing a a dumb sleep mask that blocks the light? Like, what's the magic here that makes it so effective for a person?
Yeah, I think I won't go too granular yet, but I think the big thing that we do differently is we measure and improve in real time, and we can do it all signal free. So with our smart sleep mask, we're measuring your brain activity, and we're playing back audio based off of that brain activity. So if you put it on, the first time you put on the BIA Smart Sleep Mask, you put it on, you're going to hear a startup sound. That startup sound was built by neuroscientists. It's completely soothing. It's to set the tone. What we were talking about with the scent. Okay, it's time to sleep. I'm in my sleep space. It's time to sleep. And
Gotcha.
then what we do is we measure your brain activity. Say, okay, you're wide awake. Maybe you're worried about a meeting you've got tomorrow. We'll start to play back audio that's a bit more meditative, that's a bit more relaxed. And we're going to guide your brain to relax, to get into a calmer state. And then once we see you start to go toward that meditative state, we slow it down further and we go towards stage 1 sleep, then stage 2. And we guide you through the sleep stages throughout the night. And then what we do that I think is the most unique to us is in the morning, we'll wake you up with a sunrise alarm. So you got your alarm set at 7 a.m., 6:30, the tiniest bit of light will start to emit. And what we're doing is we're mimicking an actual sunrise. So the goal here is that you're able to sleep and get that sunset sunrise experience on your own schedule rather than it being on the schedule of the sun outside. It's going to be within your control as to when that happens, and it's just a way more pleasant way to wake up. You don't have an alarm beeping on the side of the desk, the nightstand, disturbing your partner or what have you, or having that jolting experience. Just a soothed, calming sunrise experience, and the long term goal here, and maybe the features will be developed by the time this podcast is out, is having affirmations ready, being able to meditate and get that 10 minutes of sunlight without moving an inch. You just wake up, we'll detect that you're now awake. We're going to start playing affirmations, get you into a meditative state, do guided meditation while you're lying in bed. Don't have to move an inch, and you can just get that all done as a way to start your day.
Oh, that's really cool. And where do things like binaural beats fit into the equation?
Yeah, the way I like to describe it is binaural beats is kind of like saying a sunset is yellow. It's a lot more specific and direct, whereas our neural music is a lot more nuanced, a lot more detailed. It's looking at the whole spectrum. So you're getting not just, a lot of binaural beats will be like delta waves, and that's what you're listening to and that's what you're hearing. We're focusing on providing that whole spectrum of brain activity that mimics that stage 1 sleep. So it'll be delta wave dominant, but it's going to have the other aspects in there as well to guide you through those sleep stages.
Gotcha. And is there a point where the music is off completely so that it doesn't?
That's going to be up to you.
And what do you recommend there? Like, if you're in deep sleep, I would imagine no music is probably best to keep you in that deep sleep, right?
It varies. Your brain does still hear music throughout the night. So audio, it's actually arguably more sensitive to noise while you're asleep. It's what needs to jar you awake. So your brain can still actually absorb the neural music. It can still respond to it and adapt across time. And we can help, boost that deep sleep. We can help with the sleep guidance, even while you're asleep. I would suggest wearing it and keeping it going throughout the whole night. But for some people, it just might not work. So we'll have it as a feature that, once we detect you're asleep, it'll turn off. We have a same thing with actually we call it our auto pause feature. So all our music is on device. It's completely signal free, no Bluetooth connection. It'll be before you go to sleep. We'll have Bluetooth, make sure the mask is up to date, and then when you wake up, it'll sync all the data and send it to the cloud because we don't have a 2 terabyte hard drive on this thing. It's not that big. It fits in a sleep mask, so we need to sync that data up. And then throughout the night, it's neural music. If you want, you can have Bluetooth streaming throughout the night, and we're passing all of these incredibly high standard tests because we're so close to your head for the EMF radiation there to make sure we're as safe as we possibly can be on that testing. So while the Bluetooth, if you want, you can have an auto pause feature. People like to listen to audiobooks or music or podcasts while they fall asleep. Once we detect you're asleep, we'll pause it for you. So we can do the same thing with our own neural music, just without requiring a connection.
Gotcha. So neural music, I haven't heard that term before. Is that something you coined, or is that something that's out there in the world?
Yeah. I mean, as far as we know, it's internally coined. It's something like that. It's just impossible to get that trademarked. But that's what we call it, is neural music. Yeah.
And what makes it neural music? Like, isn't all music neural that your brain is processing it?
Yeah. So what we've done is same thing. We worked with a neuroscientist on this specifically, and the music is finely tuned to match those brain states. So that's where the neural aspect of it is. It's the music is less about the rhythmic experience. Not that it's not rhythmic, not that it's not enjoyable, but the focus of it is to mimic brain states.
Gotcha. And let's talk a bit more about the brain states, because our listener may not be that familiar with the benefits and the reasons for REM sleep versus deep sleep versus light sleep, and how at different times of the night you're more likely to be in one phase of sleep versus another. Like, maybe you could walk us through that a bit more.
Yeah, no, I'll just do this sequentially for simplicity's sake. So, let's say you go to bed at 10 p.m. and you're going to wake up at 6 a.m. for, again, a generic 8-hour cycle, just for simplicity. In the beginning of the night, when you're first putting it on, your mind's quite active, quite alert. It's the brain waves that would be detected are moving a lot quicker. In our case, the blood flow is going to be a lot more active and a lot more oxygenated. As you relax, as you unwind, the activity starts to slow down, and when you fall asleep, so there's let's say awake, meditative, N1, N2, N3, and REM. N1, stage 1 sleep, stage 2, N2 are considered light sleep as well. Then there's stage 3, N3, that's deep sleep, and then there's REM. And REM stands for rapid eye movement. And that's usually where dreaming happens. So what'll happen, you fall asleep, people tend to get more deep sleep earlier in the night, and you'll go through these cycles. You'll go from, you're wide awake, meditative, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, then you'll go to REM, and typically people show it as this very nice, clean step ladder of up and down, but that's not reality. You may go from stage 1 straight to stage 3 to REM, then to stage 2. It jumps around a little bit, person to person. But yeah, generally speaking, throughout the night, you get more deep sleep earlier in the morning, and you get more REM sleep, deep sleep earlier in the night, and REM sleep later into your sleep cycles, later into the evening or early morning. And going through these stages, I mean, stage 1, stage 2, a lot of it is getting your body to relax, to start going through the sleep processes, to get it to start to recover. Stage 3 is often considered the time where cerebral spinal fluid pumps through your brain. It's cleaning up the junk. It's memory consolidation. It's physical recovery. So deep sleep is often considered very important. It's better studied as well. And then there's REM sleep, and REM sleep is fascinating. Your eyes are moving back and forth. It's when most dreaming tends to happen, and a lot of memory consolidation happens during REM as well. That's where you get sleep spindles and a handful of other fun things happening.
What are sleep spindles?
It's just specific brain activity that are noted. You usually need to be in a lab to get that level of accuracy for the data because you just need so many sensors. Um, and what generally happens during sleep spindles, so if you enhance, if someone has more sleep spindles one night versus the other, you'll see improvements in their memory consolidation. So if they learned a list of 10 words one night and they get almost no sleep spindles, they won't remember nearly as much the next morning compared to a night where they get a ton of sleep spindles. The best understanding of it right now is memory consolidation moments.
Okay. And you said you're in beta right now. Is that are you doing like a Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign to get up and going, or is it just you're selling while in beta just through your website and um, developing new features as you get more orders coming in?
Yeah, it's functioning like a Kickstarter Indiegogo being done through our own website. Um, so instead of through the Kickstarter Indiegogo platform, it's on our own website. Uh, so we do have like our beta itself. There's our beta, and then we have it, calling it our early bird units. And
Mm-hmm.
the early bird units come in the second phase. Beta, we got those manufacturing right now. So those will be coming out in the next couple months. Manufacturing does have a wide array, and we need to do all the testing to make sure they're all good to go to fully validate those units. Then, based off of beta, make our final tweaks and launch a product.
Gotcha. Okay. But by the time this episode airs, either at least the beta will be out, but probably the full product.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. And I'm curious, do you do neurofeedback yourself? Do you go get like neurofeedback sessions on a regular basis or not?
Yeah. As much as I can. I used to actually like have a system at home myself, and it was much more difficult trying to set the sensors on my own head. But yeah, I still go. It's been fantastic for me throughout my adult life. Very helpful for me to clear my mind. And the more you do it, the better your brain gets at recognizing it too. So now I don't need sessions nearly as often as I used to. Um, but yeah, it's still a huge help for my brain health.
Yeah. So what are some of the benefits that you've noticed?
With neurofeedback,
Yeah.
mental clarity, I think, was by far the biggest difference. Um, I just felt so much clearer. I sleep a lot better. I used to wake up um, pretty well every 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh boy.
I'd usually be able to fall asleep 10 minutes later, but you know, I was needing much more sleep than I do now because I was just waking up over and over and over again. How I felt in the morning wasn't nearly the same as I do now. But yeah, mental clarity was huge for me. I did play soccer a lot growing up, and there's a lot of concussions in soccer, so it's possible that I had um, a minor TBI, like a minor concussion or something that kind of went undiagnosed, and that was helpful with that as well. It's possible.
Yeah. Gotcha. So you sleep through the night now, or you still get occasional wake ups during the night?
Yeah, I tend to sleep probably 4 or 5 hours straight, no problems. And then I'll wake up occasionally, but I'm usually right back to sleep or go to the washroom, come back, and right back out.
Yeah. That's a big improvement.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Cool. And so you said you had a kit at home, like a neurofeedback kit at home. What did you have, and how did that work? Like, I used to go into Peak Brain Institute. If you know Dr. Andrew Hill, he was a guest on this podcast too, and that was cool. I enjoyed that, but I no longer live near Peak Brain Institute. I'm the other side of the country now. And I also did 40 Years of Zen, which is an intensive week-long program of neurofeedback, which was awesome. It unlocked some memories, positive memories of my childhood, which was, not an easy childhood. So I guess I blocked a lot of that out. But that neurofeedback intensive unlocked some beautiful memory that I hadn't had since my childhood. So that was really cool.
Yeah, those are both amazing programs. And I do actually suggest if you're looking to do neurofeedback, one of the best ways you can do it is in an intensive manner. Just
Mm-hmm.
fully immerse into that experience. It changes your approach on it and how your brain responds, and it creates the space for it to be effective. Uh, the tech I used to have at home was called Brain Paint, like to paint. That was a pretty cool system. It's actually largely focused for ADHD. That's generally the angle they go for. The tech I now use is called Sensei, SENS.ai. Pretty cool tech. It's like an at-home system, so anyone can buy it. You don't need to be a certified neurofeedback technician, and
Oh, cool.
it's a pretty good set too. They've done a good job.
Awesome. Did you ever try 40 Years of Zen or something similar?
I ended up no, like we had people come into the clinic that had done 40 years of Zen, and generally speaking, at the clinic, we were doing 1 week to 2 week intensives for people coming in at least twice a day. But yeah, we had a couple of people come through the door that absolutely loved their experience there.
Yeah, it was really cool. My wife and I did it together, and yeah, it was something really special about doing that program. There are these augmented reset processes that are kind of like therapy sessions on steroids, and then you do a lot of forgiveness work, and then it releases a lot more alpha, gets you into these more awesome brainwave states, and it shows up in the neurofeedback when they're doing the scans and all that. Yeah, I interviewed Chris Keene, who was their, I think, CTO over at 40 Years of Zen. So there's a whole episode all about 40 Years of Zen neurofeedback program. Yeah, well, we'll include all this for the listener in the show notes for this episode too. So I'm curious to hear about your favorite supplements that you use and that maybe you have your wife use. Like what have been the best kind of needle movers for you? I mean, there's the obvious ones like melatonin, but I'm curious if there's any kind of tips or tricks that you want to share.
Yeah, and melatonin we kind of treat it as like an emergency use situation, just because your body gets used to it and adapts. And for me personally, it gives me like some pretty crazy dreams that are less pleasant, and I wake up tired from them.
Hmm.
But for me, actually, I have a magnesium deficiency, so I take magnesium quite regularly. It's been very big for me. Yeah, magnesium. I try to focus on a powder if I can, just because it's easy enough to put into a glass of water. Getting a glass of water before bed is also good. Um, yeah, so magnesium powder has been huge. It all really does. Like I would suggest experimenting and finding what works for you. Like it's such a person to person situation. Yeah, I don't want to say whatever L-theanine is a perfect. It'll help everyone sleep. Like, you need to go test and try things. L-theanine is great. Chamomile is great. Um, Valerian root is also fantastic. They're all worth giving it a try. I would suggest melatonin, GABA, just being a little more cautious on the frequency of use of those, and the dose, and not becoming like, yeah, this is my staple, I'm good to move forward. So you're probably going to get a surprise in a few months when it stops working and your sleep starts going down.
Because your body gets used to it, huh?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now you said magnesium. There are what, 7 different types of magnesium that you could take?
Yeah.
What are the ones that you recommend?
I almost always, for me, biglycinate chelate works great for me. Some magnesium also like can upset people's digestive system, so it's also worth double checking. But yeah, biglycinate chelate works quite well for me.
Okay. Yeah, because I take something called Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers, and it has 7 types of magnesium in it: magnesium chelate, magnesium citrate, magnesium biglycinate, magnesium malate, magnesium sucrosomial. I'm not memorizing these. I'm just reading them off the
Yeah.
website. Magnesium taurate, magnesium orotate. Yeah, that's a lot of magnesium. So uh, yeah, that's it's a good product. I like it. And do you have a particular brand of magnesium that you take?
I actually just use, like, we're in Canada, it's a company called Jameson. It's very classic. Like you
Okay.
get it at any corner store. big name, but what I like about them is they're manufactured in Canada, and all the sourcing is done. So I just know the standards that they're following and that they're not getting this farmed out somewhere else. And I know that like it's got the NSF stamp on there, which is crucial. Like that they hit all the check marks for me.
Yep. Yeah. And NSF, what does that stand for?
Natural supplement. I can't remember. Out of the industry for a while. Um, there's an NSF and there's another stamp actually that's also quite important. Um, yeah, NSF certified. I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. But
Yeah.
it is an important stamp. You want to make sure it's NSF. And there's another one for manufacturing that I can't remember off the top of my head either. But they're quite important.
Yep. Gotcha. All right. And then what are some of the differences in the new, like, so on your website, you've got the three different, currently, it'll change, of course, when everything goes out of beta and full production, but you've got those different tiers, the early adopters, the beta, and the full production. So it's quite a price jump for the full production. What's going to be in that version that is so significantly better that it's like 3 times more in
Yeah, and
price?
actually on that one specifically, it's getting connected with Sleep Coach. So we got like the early bird premium and ultra. The ultra is getting connected directly with the sleep coach, guiding you through the process, making sure you have what you need to
Gotcha.
succeed,
Okay.
as well as getting sessions throughout the process.
I see.
So that one we actually make the least amount of money on, and it costs the most. But we're just using, we're connected with over 100 sleep experts that we're just connecting the right person for that individual. So we'll have a call with anyone who buys that package, talk to them, see what they need, see what's the best fit. We find an appropriate sleep coach to partner with for them, and then that sleep coach would go through their process as well as making sure they're getting the most out of our product.
Gotcha. So what's involved in sleep coaching?
It depends on which sleep coach you go with. A lot of it has to do with changing your experience of your environment, as well as your experience with yourself around sleep. Um, So that experience with yourself can be something as simple as adjusting your diet and looking at when you do that, or it can be timing of when you exercise or if you exercise, when you have caffeine, um, how you view your sleep space, how you think when you're in bed, what's involved in your sleep space. It's a lot of taking control over what you can control, and how to be very strategic in how you do that. That'd probably be the best high level summary I could give.
Yeah. Okay. So what have you done to better control your environment from a sleep standpoint to improve your sleep?
I mean, the building of this mass has probably made it more difficult initially, just from stress and long hours and getting an idea at 3 a.m. and needing to write it down. But journaling is great. Journaling is a great way for me to kind of empty my brain before going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I strongly suggest it, especially if you're a little more type A or like anxiety leaning. Just writing down what's giving you anxiety, and if you can, pop in like a solution to whatever that is or when you'll solve it, and knowing that it's like, okay, that's a tomorrow problem, I can sleep tonight. That's been a big change for me. There are guides online on journals, but typically I've noticed variation coach to coach as to how they like to build the sleep journal. And it
Mm-hmm.
is something we're looking to try and build into our app as well for our product.
So how does that differ from a gratitude journal or a dream journal? Or are you doing all three types of journaling? Or like, sounds like getting stuff out of your head that would give you anxiety if you forgot about it, and then those things fall off the plate or fall off the into the cracks or whatever, and then big problems ensue. That's one kind of journaling, but there's other kinds of journaling to do too. So I'm curious to hear.
Yeah, 100%. I do gratitude journaling for me to start the day. So, when I sit down to start my work day, I do gratitude journaling at that point to try and set my intentions and, what am I thankful for? Why should I be, you know, what are some good reasons for me to start the day with happiness and keep that
Mm-hmm.
throughout the day? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Dream journaling from my side is a bit more on the creative side of things. At least that's how I've approached it. I rarely ever dream journal. Just I'm more on the operation side, and I'm less on the creative side. I don't get as much joy and excitement from my dreams. They're just things that have happened, and I'm moving on. But a lot of people absolutely love dream journaling. If it fits you, definitely do it. It's a great experience of being able to get your dreams out, write them out. You can interpret them later and talk to your sleep coach about it. It's pretty fascinating what comes from those. Then journaling I'm talking about for me is more just it's the end of the day. What is going to keep me up tonight? What's coming up tomorrow? What was it today that bugged me? How can I allow those to be on the paper instead of inside my brain? How can I get that onto the paper instead of inside my brain? That's my whole objective
Mm-hmm.
with sleep journaling.
And are you journaling on paper, like pen and paper? Or are you journaling into your phone or?
Yeah, I tend to do pen and paper.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll usually have my phone up as well because I need to like look at the calendar. For me, everything goes on my calendar. If it's on my calendar, it doesn't happen. But on the
Mm-hmm.
same grounds, I may not realize something's going to bug me. I might not be able to identify what it is that's going to bug me that night. So pulling up my calendar is like, oh yeah, that bugged me today, and it allows me to get it out instead of it something back of mind just keeping me up, or whatever something's coming up that's going to keep me awake, that's going to disturb my sleep. How do I get that onto the paper instead of in my brain?
Yeah. For me, I find that journaling on a Remarkable tablet, which doesn't have all the distractions of an iPad, and also doesn't light up so much with it's just looks like I don't know. It doesn't look like a an iPad or iPhone type device. I really like journaling on that, and yeah, it's actually caused me to journal a lot more. I just don't like typing into a phone or iPad or writing with a stylus into an iPad because it's so bright and glare and everything.
Yeah, 100%. Remarkable is actually like a fantastic product. I really like the work they've done.
Yeah, yeah. So, what are some of the things that are tech kind of gadgets and things like the Remarkable that you really like that maybe have nothing to do with sleep or with even biohacking? They're just really cool uh, pieces of tech that you use or you really like.
I do a lot of my office is all custom lighting that I can change the colors. It's kind of more on the biohacking side though. It's very much a big part of my life, but it is really nice being able to choose like the brightness and the lux and what have you of the lights in your room and the colors, and you can match it to the outside sunlight when it's gray out type thing.
Hmm.
Help kick the brain in. I also I'm going too far down that rabbit hole, but I've got like a focus mode set up that I do with my lighting as well. My lighting, my sense, like everything is for focus. Most of the tech and gadgets I have are around biohacking.
Yeah. What are some of those? Like, I'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, so I've got the Sensei. A lot of that's I use it a lot for meditation. I have the Muse 2 as well for meditation, just older
Yeah.
generation. Muse 2 has been great. I pre-ordered Neurable a long time ago as well. Neurable headphones. I think they're called the MW75s now, but they're going to be. I'm excited for those ones. They should be coming out soon. They'll probably be out by the time this podcast is out.
Yep.
They measure your focus. They're just a normal set of headphones, but they got dry EEG in the cups of the ears. Uh, Man, what else is out there? And yeah, I love those sides, and I'm a huge fan of creating the space and creating the environment, and that's what I try and focus on doing quite a bit.
Mhm.
That I have certain things that I do for certain times or certain mindsets to help kick me into that mode.
Yep. Yep. So do you have like any big devices for biohacking, like an infrared sauna or, well, I don't know, like a cold plunge tank or anything like that?
Not yet. I do actually like they're on the bucket list. All my money's gone into getting this company moving, but 100% on my bucket list. I actually really enjoy the experience of an infrared sauna. Um, it's just I'm a fairly sweaty guy to begin with, so going into a more classic sauna it becomes quite a bit, and I can feel the anxiety build inside me,
Mm.
which generally speaking, not the point of going into a sauna. Whereas the infrared saunas I find incredibly soothing and relaxing, despite still getting that heat and all that benefit without any of the anxiety that I get from a standard sauna. And cold plunges I just enjoy. I do actually enjoy that experience. I'm in Canada and we have a polar bear plunge on New Year's Day, where you go and run into the ocean and freezing temperatures across the snow covered beach. And,
Oh, that
it's
sounds
just
like
part of an
fun.
experience.
Not.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Like hundreds and hundreds of people do it together as well, so it's like a bit of an experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds like it.
if you're ever out, it's worth it.
That's pretty wild. Cool. So you mentioned anxiety. Is that something that you've been able to address with like I don't know, some sort of particular meditation practice? Like there's so much meditation stuff out there. There's transcendental meditation. There's Ziva meditation, mindfulness meditation. There's walking labyrinths. There's so many like walking meditations, etc. Like, what have you found to be most helpful for you in terms of anxiety?
For me and how I operate, uh, I do actually a lot of gratitude practice during meditations.
Mm-hmm.
Those have been very important for me. I find trying to, I guess for me, my anxiety can become a lot on my own expectations and starting to think about what what others are going through, or what I can actually be thankful for, kind of puts things into perspective for me.
Mm-hmm.
Transcendental has also been great for me too, but uh, the one thing that I've kind of stuck to as a staple has been gratitude practice throughout a meditative state, counting my breathing and focusing on any form of gratitude practice that I can do.
Gotcha. Have you tried heart math?
Yes, yeah, I have. Yeah, thank you. Another great product. Yeah, heart math is very cool.
So, do you do that regularly, or is that just something that you were kind of in a phase and you did it and then you moved on to something else?
I had a friend of mine that had it, and I tried it a handful of times whenever I'd go and visit. So I haven't been able to do a full on 1 month experiment type thing on myself with it, but yeah, it's also a very interesting product.
Yeah, gotcha. So, I know there's some books on anxiety. There's an author named Andrea Peterson who wrote a book on anxiety. I interviewed her on this podcast. That was a great interview. I'll include that in the show notes for the listener. But the book is called On Edge: A Journey Through Anxiety. And I'm curious if there are any books. You're a reader, right? So which books have helped you the most in regards to the anxiety or ADHD or you know, just avoiding distraction and staying focused and in traction?
I don't know if I have the best suggestions on that side. I tend to neglect my health a little bit more and focus on helping others. So I haven't had actually like a clinical psychology, edition 6 that I read in university.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I'm not the best reference for that. I'm sure there's plenty of others that have way better examples than I can give.
Okay. Well, you might check out Andrea's book On Edge and listen to her episode. Yeah, it was episode number 146. Yeah. Yeah. So what would be an easy next action for our listener to take that would, like, they don't have to invest any cash, buy any wearable and like supplements or anything, just something that we haven't maybe even talked about yet that will make their life better. Doesn't have to be their sleep, but probably would make sense if it does help their sleep. That is just a no brainer. It's like I, it's not a huge commitment for them.
Uh, if it's not a huge commitment, something that's free, I would talk about more cutting than I would necessarily adding. Um,
Okay.
and being a lot more selective and just accepting, the list is never going to end. You're never going to finish your checklist. If you do, life will be boring. So treating like your to-do list on your checklist of what's reasonable to get done today, cut the rest. What's most important, cut the rest. And just do those. And if anything else you get to, it's a bonus. And you can feel great about it. And, this is all a better thing for me today. And the same thing will apply to aspects of your health. Don't expect to go from whatever, eating McDonald's every day to eating, Brian Johnson level of a diet. Like step by step, what's the goal? What's one thing today that will make me feel a bit better? And that's it.
Mm.
And just build and build and build. Understand that it's going to be a long journey and that 10 years from now, that journey is going to change because we're going to have new data and new science and new findings. Everything's going to change constantly. So just one step at a time, enjoy the ride because you're not going to get to the finish point. And if you do, that's going to be more boring anyways. So make sure the finish point never comes.
All right. So it sounds like you're suggesting starting with small habits, like atomic habits, tiny habits, and then building on those through habit stacking, and not overwhelming yourself trying to do everything all at once. Uh, get through this step by step.
Yeah, exactly. I think a big problem that I face, and I think a lot of other people face, is people look at the number of hours in a day and think I need to have whatever 16 hours of activities. But if you look at it more of like how much energy do I have today, it completely changes your picture and your outlook, where you're focusing your energy rather than your time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because 16 hours, especially today with everything being automated, that's a ton of time to get an insane amount done. Um, but is that how you want to spend your energy? And is that efficient use of your energy? Because your energy goes up and down as you use it. It's not quite the same. Your time is 16 hours is 16 hours is 16 hours. It's going to be like that day in, day out. But your energy will fluctuate. It will adapt. It'll adjust. So how do you best use your energy? Um, that was a big mindset switch for me. And then it switched to saying no, because I tried to do every single habit and I tried to do it all at once and just overwhelming myself and not being able to get through everything. So just
Yeah.
focusing on the few, what can I control? What is best fit for me where I am now? And how can I build more energy throughout the day and, build a higher level of stress tolerance and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. So BJ Fogg, author of Tiny Habits, he talks about in the book, just commit to flossing one tooth if you want a new habit of flossing every night. One tooth is easy, and then you can decide after you've done the one tooth if you want to proceed and do the rest, feel free, but also don't feel bad if you decided to stop and just finish with the one tooth because that was your commitment. And yeah, that's how you build incredible great habits for for a lifetime. Yeah, good stuff. I interviewed him, by the way, BJ Fogg, episode 210. Yeah, he's awesome. All right. Well, this was great, and I'm really excited for your product. I just, yeah, I don't remember how exactly I came across it, but I did, and I just thought, I rely on my intuition a lot, and so you didn't pitch me, I pitched you. I contacted you, suggesting you come on the show. So thanks for saying yes.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate you reaching out. And yeah, I'm so excited to get this product out into the world. I think it's going to be fantastic for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, it'll help a lot of people. Awesome. So, Michael, where do we send our listener if they want to get a BIA and support you on this amazing entrepreneurial journey you're on?
Amazing. Yeah, the website, very straightforward, getbia.com, GET, B as in Bravo, IA.com.
Awesome. And also, what's your most active social platform? So, if they want to follow you on social media?
I would say Instagram is where we're most active. Yeah.
Okay, and what's the username of for your Instagram account?
Yeah. It's at BIA Neuroscience.
Okay.
BIA Neuroscience.
BIA Neuroscience. Got it. All right. Well, we'll include that in the show notes too. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, listener. Thank you for being a part of the tribe, and please tell your friends and your family and everyone to listen to this show so that they too can be part of the tribe and make their lives better and everyone else's. We'll catch you in the next episode. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off. If you want to hear more conversations like this on sleep optimization, then I recommend episode 209 with Klaus Pumer, episode 220 with James Swanwick, and episode 419 with Dr. Michael Bruce. Also, I invite you to check out the show notes, transcript, action-based checklist, and all the URLs mentioned in this interview with Michael Byrne at getyourselfoptimized.com/496. If you enjoyed the conversation, I encourage you to share this episode and, more importantly, the entire show, Get Yourself Optimized, with a friend. Change your life and help me spread the light. Thank you.